line. The calls for action are growing.
This is so greedy, it's not acceptable.
Quebec admits to a clumsy response after a storm strands hundreds on the road overnight. Dutch voters say no to an anti-Muslim nationalist. Plus, a young, fast-living Canadian accused of helping Russian cyber spies. If you're one of the tens of millions of Canadians who do business at one of the big banks, you may want to take a closer look at your accounts. Our Go Public team has already revealed details about unethical and illegal sales tactics at TD Bank. But now we're being told it's not the only Canadian financial institution to play fast and loose with the rules. Employees from all 5 leading banks have contacted CBC News with stories of lying, even breaking the law to meet sales targets, and customers are paying the price. Our reporting has already triggered a federal review, but now there are demands for Parliament to get involved. Our Go Public reporter Erica Johnson has those details and the latest allegations from bank insiders. Erica?
Wendy, the emails to Go Public just keep coming. More than 1,500 from past and present employees of all the big banks, RBC, TD, BMO, CIBC, and Scotiabank. Many of them describing high-pressure tactics to reach sales targets that they say have skyrocketed in recent years and encouraged unethical behavior. We're concealing the identities of bank employees like this BMO financial services manager who recently quit. He says his manager told him to lie to customers to hit sales revenue targets.
She asked us to not disclose interest rates, to hide interest rates, and to manipulate or lie about market conditions on investments.
An RBC certified financial planner says she's seen colleagues push credit cards even in times of distress.
I've seen elderly clients come in for an estate, so the executor, the spouse has come in, they just lost their elderly partner, spouse, and I've seen them sell a visa to this person.
In email after email, bank employees describe a widespread culture of high-pressure sales. If we don't get our targets, we get yelled at, writes one employee. Many say there is shaming and bullying if employees don't sell enough. Everyone's results were posted so you always knew where you or your coworkers stood, who was bringing the branch down. If someone has a tactic or way of tricking or misleading clients into more sales, they are required to share with the team. And now the federal bank watchdog, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, has announced it will begin a review next month. The Canadian Bankers Association says it will fully cooperate. The recent reports have prompted calls for a parliamentary inquiry.
The phenomenon of those selling bad products or toxic products or increasing the personal debt of the consumers, that's really unacceptable. And this is not how the system should work.
This investor advocate wants a political inquiry, too, that actually leads to change.
We've got a culture that exists on greed, lying, and deceiving people, and it's not going to end soon. And this is why the only solution, really, is to have government step in and look after the Canadian people.
None of the bank CEOs would give Go Public an interview. Instead, they provided statements, essentially saying they're committed to acting in the customer's best interest. At least one bank is trying to control the message. In an internal email obtained by Go Public, TD tells branch staff, if asked whether they have sales goals, to reply, "I do, but more importantly, I have the motivation to help you by providing outstanding service and advice."
But you're not just
and
hearing
Wendy,
from
besides
bank
writing to us about sales targets, we're also hearing from bank employees, and they are saying that the pressure to meet sales targets is also taking a toll on their health. They write about having panic attacks, how they are experiencing stress, many of them going on medical leave because of that stress. Some employees saying they decided to leave the industry altogether because of the pressure to meet sales targets and their unwillingness to act unethically.
Thanks so much, Erica. Erica Johnson in Vancouver tonight. So whether because of federal oversight or public pressure, the banks may be forced to dial back the aggressive sales tactics. But why go there in the first place? Well, as Jacqueline Hansen reports, the banks may be victims of their own success.
The Big Five Canadian banks compete for customers and for profit, and they're very good at it. Quarter after quarter of record profits. Even through recent years of slow economic growth, the banks continue to outperform themselves. But there are challenges to keep raising that bar, like low interest rates, squeezing margins and profits on loans, the rise of digital competitors like online financial advisors, and efforts to keep up with a relentless pace of new financial products.
Is there too much pressure on quarterly numbers and people have to meet these goals? And I think that's probably part of it.
Paul Harris and the investment fund he works with invest in TD and Royal Bank. He started out as a bank teller himself, and he's watched banks' business models rapidly evolve, along with the role of tellers.
We have to respect the fact that the job has changed. It's no longer about counting somebody's money that comes in there. It's about different aspects of selling different products.
Pressure to sell those products and upsell customers are at the center of CBC Go Public's reports of stories from employees at Canada's big banks. At what level of the bank's hierarchy that pressure may have started is unclear.
The CEO and the board of directors, they're responsible for ensuring that throughout the rest of the organization, it's carried through.
This expert says that even if a bank promotes soft principles like trust and honesty, that may not be enough when potential performance bonuses may be on the line.
You might have a conflicting interest, such as commission, if you do this or you do that. So then you have incentives that kind of go against your ethical principles to be honest and to disclose.
Banks are businesses with shareholders to report to, so there will always be some pressure to sell. But analysts say the best companies in any industry are ones that can balance that with caring for their clients. Otherwise, they say both investors and customers lose. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Those bank practices will face a whole lot of scrutiny next month when that government review we mentioned gets underway. A little earlier, I spoke with Brigitte Goulart. She's Deputy Commissioner at the federal watchdog on the case, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. So CBC's revealed what seems like an open secret in the banking business. I'm just wondering, did you suspect there was a problem here? And if so, why only doing this review now?
Thank you for that question, Wendy. One of our responsibilities is to look at market trends and what consumers are doing in the industry. And back in January, we saw a little bit of an increase with respect to credit card application complaints. People complaining that they were getting credit card without actually applying for that credit card. We immediately advised the banks that we expected them to comply with the legislation and obtain the express consent from their consumers before providing them with credit cards. We are currently following up with the banks to make sure that they are actually doing what we are expecting them with respect to credit cards.
But we're hearing, obviously, from Erica's report that there's still a lot of problems. So if banking laws have been broken here, and you confirm that, what can you do?
So we also decided in February that we were going to do this year's industry review on the sales practices of the banks. We usually announce this review a little later in the year, but because of the media attention, we decided today to announce it so the public would know that we are on top of this issue and are considering seriously the allegations we are seeing in the media.
And then what happens?
So will be following up with the banks, all the financial institutions, and looking at their sales practices, including whether or not they're complying with legislation. We will also be looking at, for example, their the compensation they provide to sales staff to make sure that it's not leading or promoting unsavory sales practices.
So how long will that take?
Well, we hope to get back to the public with our report by the end of the year.
And could there be serious consequences here? I mean, this is the law.
Well, I think there are always serious consequences when financial institutions don't respect their obligations. So in terms of consequences, what we would do if we do see some institutions that are not complying, we will investigate the matter. And if the investigation leads to a violation, they could be subject to a fine up to $500,000. And if it is a very serious allegation, then we could actually name the institution.
Well, we'll see what happens with the review. Brigitte Goulart, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A couple of markers today show the financial pressures Canadians are facing. Home prices ticked up 3.5% last month, but it's very much a tale of two realities, Toronto and everywhere else. The average Canadian price was more than $500,000, but that's mainly because the number is skewed by the country's hottest real estate market. In Toronto, the price was more than $700,000. That's an increase of 23% from February of last year. Canadians are also carrying a record level of debt, an average of $22,000. That means for every dollar of disposable income, they owe $1.67. Coming up, don't let your bank treat you like a cash machine. We'll get tips on protecting yourself from predatory tactics. Plus, millennials go where others fear to tread.
If I were to restrict my travels to all of the 100% safe countries, I would be pretty limited.
That late winter blast continued its march through central Canada overnight. Quebec took the brunt of it. Hundreds of motorists were stranded as the snow and winds paralyzed much of the province. And today, as officials took stock of what happened and what didn't, there was plenty of blame to go around. Alison Northcott explains.
With the snow still falling this morning, Montrealers got to work.
It's terrible. It's sucking my energy out.
It was a record-breaking snowfall for this date, at least 40 centimeters in Montreal. Some highways were shut down and there was near zero visibility, leading to accidents and dangerous pileups like this. There were also tragic consequences. East of Quebec City, 2 men were found dead in a car buried in the snow. Police and ambulances couldn't reach them.
Their vehicles were jammed in the snow, so they had to use snowmobiles. Unfortunately, despite all these efforts, they arrived too late.
On this highway in Montreal, hundreds of drivers were stranded overnight. Some abandoned their vehicles. Many called 911, but it still took hours for help to arrive.
We'll stay in the traffic 12 hours without any help, without anything, and we can move any car.
Montreal's mayor released a timeline of what happened. Just before midnight, the Transport Ministry told city officials Highway 13 was closed, but didn't mention people were trapped in their vehicles. At 1:40 a.m., city staff held a second conference call, but no one from the Transport Ministry was on it. At 3:27 a.m., the city learned that hundreds of people were stuck, but Quebec Provincial Police did not ask the fire department to intervene. At 4:29 a.m., the fire department went in. Crews finally started to clear the route early this morning, shuttling people to safety. Quebec's premier acknowledged the response lacked coordination.
I know that people are working hard on the ground and all of this, but we have to take the lessons out of the situation and do better, much better next time.
Push! Push!
Montreal's buses couldn't handle the conditions. Many got stuck and some drivers had to abandon their routes. As the snow clearing continues, the province says it will go over its response to this storm to find out what led to so many people being stranded for so long and what needs to change to keep it from happening again. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
And in eastern Ontario, a stretch of Highway 401 remained closed for a second day. Another consequence of yesterday's weather. The poor driving conditions caused multiple collisions. 29 people were sent to hospital. Police scrambled to contain a chemical spill after one tractor-trailer crashed and leaked a toxic substance. Its driver was killed. Canadians still don't know exactly why the military's second-in-command was suddenly suspended earlier this year. What we do know is that he is under investigation in connection to leaks of classified information from the Department of National Defence. But CBC News has learned the investigation has been going on for years, involves more suspects, and has escalated under the Liberals. Murray Brewster has the details.
November 2015, a new government and apparently a new way of looking at things.
We're a government that wants to earn Canadians' trust by demonstrating that we trust Canadians. Openness and transparency isn't just about trust, though.
But it seems there was too much openness going on back then. Multiple sources tell CBC News the RCMP investigation into leaks of classified information at National Defence started under the Conservatives, but gained new intensity under the Liberals in November 2015, following 3 stories that appeared in the media and directly referenced unpublished cabinet decisions and documents. Two of the leaks, reported by CBC News and the Canadian press, involved the troubled shipbuilding file, specifically the plan to lease a new supply ship for the Navy. We can tell you tonight the RCMP have questioned suspects in both Ottawa and on the West Coast. The most high profile you already know about. Vice Admiral Mark Norman, the military's number 2, who was suspended in January without explanation. The depth of the investigation raises troubling questions. How much in the shipbuilding file is national security?
Civil servants will want to cover up their mistakes or potential mistakes by casting this veil of secrecy over top of them.
Since they took power, the Liberals no longer release cost estimates for defense projects. They have instituted a lifetime gag order for D&D staff on the fighter jet replacement program. And quietly, they've refused to roll back changes the Conservatives made in 2013, which expanded cabinet secrecy.
It wouldn't surprise me to see that secrecy deepened and intensified and became more entrenched and more a matter of policy under the Liberal regime.
But others, not involved in the investigation, but who've been on the inside, disagree.
They're ethically and legally bound to keep secrets unless there are overriding, compelling interests that indicate that there is more public interest in the release of information.
The RCMP have twice refused our request to comment on the investigation. Admiral Norman, meanwhile, remains suspended. Another flag officer is being brought in to temporarily fill his job. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
The U.S. Justice Department announced some big arrests today involving cyber hacking, espionage, and Russians. And there's a major Canadian connection. One of the 4 men arrested in the case is Canadian and lived just outside Toronto. As Evan Dyer tells us, all 4 have been indicted on charges they stole information from more than 500 million Yahoo accounts to access U.S. and Russian government officials and more.
Karim Baratov appears to have been an early learner, already making enough money in high school to buy a house and cars. Cars, fast ones and expensive ones, were his main interest. He changed them frequently, and he liked to race them on the streets of suburban Hamilton. He also used his money to pay for thrills, for Cuban cigars, and lots of bling, which he liked to post on his social media accounts.
I prefer Dos Equis.
And many wondered how the 22-year-old supported his lifestyle.
And we see him driving around Old Ancaster like all day, so we figured he's not working during the day, he's doing something else.
Baratov himself joked, "My neighbors still think I'm from the mafia." But according to the FBI, Baratov was working for a much more powerful organization, Russia's FSB, which used to be known as the KGB. The FBI says Baratov sold passwords to Russian intelligence agents to enable them to access the accounts of people they wanted to spy on in Russia and around the world, using information gleaned from the original Yahoo hack.
Yesterday's arrest of co-conspirator Karim Baratov in Canada, which was executed by the Toronto Police Service's Fugitive Squad, demonstrates our total and unyielding commitment to finding and bringing to justice cyber criminals, no matter where they operate or reside.
We will make America safe again.
The FBI said nothing about another cyber investigation now underway into the hacking of the recent U.S. election. But the agency has also pointed the finger of blame at hackers working for the FSB. Dmitry Dokuchayev was also charged today, along with fellow FSB agent Igor Sushchin and a 29-year-old Russian called Alexei Balan, one of the world's top criminal hackers who's already under U.S. sanctions. Baratov is the youngest of the 4 accused and the only one who lives outside of Russia, which is why he's the only one in custody. Russia is unlikely to hand over the other 3. He's now facing charges which include aggravated identity theft and conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and he's looking at a possible 20 years in a U.S. prison. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
With a populist candidate running on an anti-Muslim, anti-European Union platform, keen eyes were trained on today's election in the Netherlands. And it seems the Dutch knew that too. The highest voter turnout in decades handed a clear message to that radical candidate: no. But as Margaret Evans explains, Geert Wilders and his ideas aren't going anywhere.
Amsterdam's canal-side cafes and more private perches were full on today. the sunshine bringing the city out and laying odds in favor of a high turnout at the polls. It also helped mellow the mood a little in what's been a polarizing campaign for many people.
We have two counterparts that are screaming, and they both want something totally different.
Paul Kangani is a 29-year-old who hasn't liked the anti-immigrant messaging of firebrand politician Geert Wilders. What does being Dutch mean to you?
Lucky.
Wilders ran his campaign on a pledge to close the door to Muslims.
Whatever the outcome of the elections today, the genie will not go back into the bottle, and this patriotic revolution, whether today or tomorrow, will take place anyway.
Mark Rutte, the Dutch Prime Minister, who was and looks likely to be so again, urged voters to reject Wilders and what he said could be a potential populist fireball across Europe. But he also shifted his own rhetoric further to the right to come out on top, and Wilders has still increased his share of support. Bianca van der Kraan voted for him, she says, because she believes immigrants get more from the government than working-class Dutch people do.
No, I'm not a racist or what else. It's only just find a job, no job, out. Passport, out.
There are plenty of people who say the immigration debate overshadowed more important issues than preserving the Dutch identity, from the laid-back traditions of legalized prostitution and coffee shops to how open society is to outsiders. What many in the Netherlands will now be hoping is that things can get back to normal, even if that means a period of coalition building. Geert Wilders won't be a part of that, but he's been a fixture on the Dutch political stage for many years, a thorn in the side of the establishment, and that hasn't changed. The genie may have been contained, but it's still there. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Amsterdam.
Donald Trump's new travel ban will not be going into effect tomorrow. A judge in Hawaii ruled today the new ban discriminates on the basis of nationality and would prevent relatives from the 6 mostly Muslim countries covered by the ban from visiting family in the state. Tonight, Trump called it a terrible ruling and said he will fight it all the way to the Supreme Court. Before that ruling came down, Trump was talking about his accusation that Barack Obama wiretapped the phones at Trump Tower. He told Fox News that wiretapping doesn't just mean wiretapping, but actually covers a lot of different things. Paul Hunter has the story.
In the ever-deepening mystery of why Donald Trump accused Barack Obama of wiretapping Trump Tower, today a damning perspective from those investigating the allegation. Short answer, from lawmakers, both Democrat and Republican.
I don't think there was an actual tap of Trump Tower. Thus far, we have seen no basis for that whatsoever.
It's not a conclusion, but it's clear they likewise have no faith in Trump spokespeople who still say the president will be vindicated.
I don't think they have the foggiest idea what was behind the president's claim, except maybe something he watched on TV.
Central to all of it, those rumors of Russian meddling in last year's election and the talk of ties between Moscow and Trump's campaign. Could Trump Tower have come under surveillance because of that? Possibly. But by law, Barack Obama could not have simply ordered it, as Trump seems to suggest. Today, the question to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who's recused himself from investigations into any of this. Has he ever briefed Trump on those investigations or given Trump reason to believe he was wiretapped?
The answer is no.
Then tonight on Fox News, Trump himself weighed in.
Wiretap covers a lot of different things. I think you're going to find some very interesting items coming to the forefront over the next 2 weeks.
Unlikely to satisfy critics who insist he's scarred the office and the country.
The day is going to come when some tragedy is going to befall our country and the world. And people are not going to believe this president.
You can't have a president in the White House who, because he has a hissy fit, is mad about something or excited about something, makes an accusation like this with no foundation, and then doesn't have any concern over the repercussions of what he says.
Amid all of that, the head of the FBI testified privately on this on Capitol Hill today. Next week, he'll do so publicly. With the question now, how far will he go on whether the U.S. president can be believed?
Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Trump was also in Detroit today, announcing a kind of relief for the auto industry. He's rolling back a tough environmental target set by the Obama administration. But as Kim Brunhuber explains, a win for Michigan may set up a legal brawl with California.
The assault on the American auto industry, believe me, is over.
In the boardrooms of automakers across Detroit today, it's not hard to imagine executives pumping their fists. Making cars fuel efficient is hard and expensive. The Obama administration ordered automakers to nearly double the average fuel economy of new cars and trucks by 2025. The car companies said it couldn't be done and wanted President Trump to make the Environmental Protection Agency go back to the drawing board and come up with softer rules. They got their wish.
We are going to cancel that executive action.
And make no mistake, Trump says, flanked by automakers, this is just the beginning.
We are far from finished. We think we can get rid of about 75% of the regulations.
But he can't do that without taking on the largest state in the country. These cars may be built in Detroit, but many of the rules that govern them are created in California. The Clean Air Act gives California a waiver that allows the state to set its own emissions standards.
About 40% of the drivers in the U.S. are covered by California's rules. So for the feds to do a rollback that really counts, they need to come after us.
That's why many environmentalists fear Trump's next move will be to challenge California's right to create its own rules in the first place.
California will sue, and I think, frankly, California has a pretty good chance of winning that case.
Canadian emissions standards are harmonized with the American ones, so this battle may eventually shape the vehicle you buy. Though any actual changes to the rules will take years to end up on the assembly line. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Los Angeles.
NASA has also been looking into cleaner emissions in airplanes. Today, it unveiled the results of a study on contrails, those streaks of jet engine exhaust. Researchers flew behind a plane into the contrails and collected samples. They found using a half-and-half mix, jet fuel and biofuel from a plant oil, reduced particle emissions by as much as 50 to 70%. High-altitude contrails are linked to global warming. The Women's World Hockey Championship starts at the end of March, but the champions of the last 3 tournaments say they aren't going. Players on Team USA will withdraw unless progress is made with the governing body over fair wages. The captain said, "We are asking for USA Hockey to fully support its programs for women and girls and stop treating us like an afterthought." USA Hockey responded with its plans for the lead-up to the 2018 Olympics, but support during non-Olympic years is what the team sees as an issue. A graphic warning from Australian safety officials. They showed pictures of this woman who was sleeping on a flight to Melbourne when the rechargeable batteries inside her headphones exploded. She suffered a few small burns. Authorities aren't revealing the brand of headphones. Straight ahead, how to keep your banker honest and keep more of your money.
Fidel Castro, seen here with his brother Raul, has been a focal point of controversy ever since his barbudos, his bearded guerrillas, overthrew the Batista regime on New Year's Day this year. His executions of former enemies, his gentle handling of communists, his land reform program involving expropriation of large United States interests, all these things have kept him in the headlines. He was interviewed in Havana by CBC reporter Michael McClear.
Like in Canada, we find support too in the public opinion.
Last year, by far the sharpest thorn in the American side was Cuba. Raul Castro, the Minister of Defense, one of the most bitter enemies of the United States, his hatred of all things American surpassed only by that of his brother Fidel.
Do you think that Canada should continue to trade with Cuba despite the United States embargo on trade with that country?
I don't think we should let the United States decision not to trade with Cuba to influence us.
I think we have to stick to the United States policy. I personally am against any trade with Cuba.
Pierre Trudeau was the first leader of a Western industrial nation to step on Cuban soil, to be greeted with a warm and friendly double handshake by Fidel Castro, since Castro came out of the mountains, leading a revolution that started turning Cuba into a communist state in 1959. At a quick news conference, Trudeau was asked if he was concerned about the people back home who were shocked by his presence in a communist state.
Well, the category of people which would be shocked by that have long since been shocked by my visit to China and to the Soviet Union, so I guess I can't worry about that.
The Prime Minister arrived. Fidel Castro was there to greet him with a tirade about the United States.
El bloqueo contra Cuba.
Castro said the blockade is a calumny. He said it's genocide. The Prime Minister made no direct response to him. In his brief remarks, he talked of a new awareness in Cuba.
An expression of confidence in the increasing openness of Cuba to the wider world.
Most of these people couldn't tell you the name of the Canadian Prime Minister, but they know about Canada. Canada figures high up in their hopes.
I get kind of scared because I'm 19, so I'm pretty young. So I feel like they'll take advantage of that.
I think it's wrong for customers to be put, of any institution, including one of our big 5 banks, to be put in a position where they're saying yes to something without all the information they need to make an actual decision.
A lot of Canadians are casting a wary eye at their bank as CBC News exposes again and again evidence of sales tactics that take advantage of the customer. Current and former bank employees have told us they've withheld crucial information from clients and even felt they had to break the law. What can you do to protect yourself? I'm joined by personal finance columnist and blogger Carrie K. Taylor. Bruce Sellery also writes on the subject, and he founded a company that does personal finance training. So, Bruce, I'm going to start with you on this. What do people need to know?
There is a difference between fraud and selling. And some of these examples you have to categorize in one of those two places. Lying, things that break the law, one thing. But a lot of the examples you're hearing are more aggressive sales tactics that consumers might not really think that their bank would partake in. But you have to remember, a chain restaurant measures the productivity of every single server on staff. So if you think about the banks as selling products, you think, well, of course they're going to measure their staff. Some people, some tellers didn't sign up for that, and they're concerned about that cultural shift. But if you think about it from a sales perspective, they're out there to make money, and they're going to do
hundreds of people coming forward saying that they were pushed into unethical positions.
Yeah.
That's a little different than yoga pants or a pair of shoes.
Well, when you look at those allegations, some of them absolutely should be investigated, and the FCAC is going to do that. Others, if they worked at a different chain where their job was to sell, it would be completely consistent. The whiteboard, listing names of people's sales performance on a whiteboard. Anyone who works in sales knows that those measures are broadly available. Everybody knows how everybody else is doing. That's not shaming. It's not bullying. It's sales.
What do you think, Karen?
Well, I think, Canadians need to go into their banks with an open eye. A bank is a business. They're into sales. They're not your BFF. They're not your best friend forever. And a lot of us go in there looking for advice, and we go in there with our hearts open and our minds open to get advice that's going to help us with our retirement. Sometimes we go in there with an aging parent looking for advice on how to deal with, their accounts. So the problem is our perspective is we're going in thinking that the bank has our best interest at heart.
Well, they ask us to trust them. A lot of their logos are about trust.
Well, and that's exactly it. But the problem is the bank is a business, right? And again, we need to be self-advocates when we go in there. We need to be okay with saying it's no, ask questions about the kind of products they're pitching us, and be very wary when they're there for, increasing our credit limits or debt products to sell.
So what tips are there? I mean, do we need to just be poring over our bills all the time?
Yeah, we do. We need to be responsible consumers. We spend so much time figuring out the right retail store to buy a liquid bottle, Liquid Tide. And we spend almost no time seriously considering the price that we pay for some financial services. And it isn't just bank fees, it's investment fees, it's mortgages. We need to be engaged in what the cost is of those services
and not believe that they're going to have our best interests at heart.
Ensure that we get value for the price we pay and know that they're in the business of making money. These are not social service agency representatives. They're a bank. It's a for-profit organization.
So should people actually be able to get money back if they've been pushed into a...
Yes, I'm always telling people, you can negotiate, ask for a better deal. If you see a fee that you've been charged, such as overdraft protection, and you didn't consent and disclose for that fee to be put on your account, you should go to your banker and say, hey, take this off. Every month that I've paid this fee, I want a refund. Speak up, ask for a better deal. Ask for a better deal in your checking account. That's an anchor product for a bank. Once they get you in with a checking account, we don't change. Canadians are, we're known for never switching banks. Many people are at the same bank for 10, 15, 20 years. It's like we inherit a bank from our parents because we bank at the same place that our parents do. So I think if more Canadians got up, comparison shopped, looked at what other banks offered, looked at what the credit unions offered, asked for a better deal, and fired their bank, there'd be a lot more movement in the system and a lot more offers and better fees and better consumer service.
We need to empower the consumer to say no.
How?
They say no. They need to say no. Why do we treat financial services in a way that is different from a car dealership, a massage therapist, a personal trainer, a clothing retailer?
Because we trust them.
Yeah,
but we think we should trust them.
We think we should trust them, and that's the problem.
Yeah, we need to stop trusting the banks.
So consumers need to exercise their right to say no.
Stop trusting the bank? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Think about it like any product we buy. Now, here's some two very practical tips. Number one, look at your statements. Look at your statements over 3 months. Understand what those charges are. Pick up the phone, call the 1-800 number, and say, what is that? Why am I paying that? Do I have to pay that? And we would advocate, as consumers, we would do that in many, many different areas. But somehow when it comes to financial issues, we're like, oh, it's too scary. I don't want to deal with it in a way that we don't in other categories.
And people, I think, actually feel flattered when they're told that their credit limit has been upped. It's like, oh, they like me.
I'm a good risk.
But they're selling you money.
No, exactly. Your money is a product to the bank. Whenever I go into a bank, I'm always surprised that, they say they're there for me, yet they've never offered to open an RESP for my daughter, Registered Education Savings Plan. I have friends with kids with disabilities, and they've never offered to help open them in an RDSP. The government matches a lot of our contributions to this. That's how you help the consumer. You sell them and give them products and access to products that help them. You don't extend their lines of credit and, give them more debt, which obviously we don't need. I mean, the report's saying we just are at one.
So the trouble with that is that we're tempted. We're too easily
tempted.
We're
absolutely tempted.
And debt is a problem. We can talk all night, I think, about debt and mortgages, where we saw the numbers up today, but we're out of time. Thanks so much to both of you. Coming up, millennial tourists don't put safety first.
I've been in a lot of close calls, nothing too serious.
But she's not completely reckless. Her phone has an app that tracks ISIS activity. Plus, what it's really like for asylum seekers once they cross into Canada.
News Magazine. Canadian scientists and their counterparts on the Soviet side of the North Pole have found out that the Arctic ice pack is slowly melting. The ocean is warming up. Its coat of ice is now only about 60% as thick as it was at the turn of the century.
Polar ice will melt, and by the end of the century, this will bring floods to low-lying coastal areas. Inland, there'll be drought, and in other places, an increase in storms. Some crops could be devastated. But looking at the brighter side of things, at least our great-grandchildren should have warmer winters.
Just a sample of the broad spectrum of opinion on the changes taking place in our atmosphere.
Cataclysmic, not a trivial matter and not one to be taken lightly.
The greenhouse effect will wreak total havoc on the natural world.
All of them are burning fossil fuels. All of them are adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. But if I put in too much carbon dioxide, in effect, what I'm doing is putting a dome over the entire world. The temperature begins to rise because it's being trapped, the greenhouse effect. And we can actually see it here on the thermometer just from these ordinary studio lights.
Compounding the problem has been the systematic depletion of the world's forests. Trees need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. As the number of trees diminish worldwide, more carbon dioxide is left to build up in the atmosphere.
The start of global warming can also mean extreme and erratic weather, and the evidence has been mounting up.
Knowing what we know now, how serious it may get, I don't want to see us looking back saying, oh, we could have done this, but now it's too late.
I think what concerns me most about global warming, I feel like we're just in a little experiment and that we're just not leaving anything for the future generations.
A piece of film was supposed to have been cut to open this year's Festival of Festivals, but the organizers couldn't find any, so an old-fashioned ribbon was used instead.
This evening, the gala premiere belongs to a Canadian film, Ticket to Heaven. A number of limousines have pulled up with well-dressed people. Unfortunately, nobody seems to know who they are.
Despite the problems, after the film, it was party time, and there was everything you'd expect at a showbiz bash. Stars, booze, good-looking women, good-looking men, people dancing to the music of Martha and the Muffins, and more booze.
It's Warren Beatty night at the Festival of Festivals, where the spotlight shines on everyone. The ushers at the theater had their hands full. It was their job to make sure the fans and the stars didn't collide. But when the big black Continental pulled up to the curb, there was no stopping the autograph hounds.
I'm very proud of myself from restraining myself from attempting to wrestle him to the ground, because that's exactly what I wanted to do.
This was opening night, a gala for the North American premiere of Joshua Then and Now. There were Klieg lights and limousines, but there were also some charming down-home touches. The star, James Woods, arrived with his proud parents, who came in from Rhode Island for the event.
Now, the oh-so-cool set have decreed Canada's little festival that could a must. That, of course, is Robin Williams, Claudia Schiffer.
It's the only film festival in the world where you see all of the most important films. You see a whole year come in advance.
As un-Canadian as it is to gloat, movie critic Roger Ebert says go right ahead.
Yeah, it's okay, Canada. It's okay. It's a real big, real good festival.
It's a scene that's playing out at many Canadian border crossings. People seeking asylum, braving the worst of winter to walk from the United States into this country. Getting here was tough enough. Some arrive with nothing more than the clothes on their back and the desire to stay. But that permission can take a while. So what exactly is waiting for them in the way of support? The CBC's Cameron McIntosh takes a look.
He fled Somalia fearing for his life. We've agreed to call him Ali Mohammed to protect his family.
My pet.
This is his 8th day in Canada. Those donated clothes and a shared room at Winnipeg's Salvation Army shelter. Right now he's living off charity.
They give us pets and something to eat, lunch, breakfast, and dinner.
Like dozens of others here, he walked into Canada to claim asylum. Now has to wait up to 2 months for a refugee board hearing.
If I get an asylum in Canada, I'm sure I can change my life as very quickly.
This road runs alongside the Canada-US border near Emerson, Manitoba. That side's the US, that side's Canada. You can see it's pretty wide open around here. Since January 1st, more than 200 people have made a crossing around here. While international convention and Canadian law allow them to make a refugee claim, they don't automatically become refugees, and they don't qualify for the same benefits. There are 2 refugee systems in Canada. Resettled, like the Syrians last year, they're screened overseas and can qualify for up to $25,000 in government assistance. Border crossers are asylum seekers. Already in country, they can apply to be refugees if they pass a security check. They only qualify for social assistance.
Like me, I'll get 101 every 2 weeks.
Asha Abed crossed the border back in October, seeking political asylum from Somalia. Her hearing has been delayed. In the meantime, she's living with 3 others. They use a food bank. Social assistance helps cover the rent. She's applying for a federal work permit.
I'm counting days when I get my work permit and get started. Even if I can do any job that can help me earn enough, I will.
Where from this winter coming?
Life is a little more certain for her roommate Nima Abdullah. She has been granted refugee protection.
I found something like peace when she say I accept.
Because she has status, she has access to government-supported training. Right now she's taking English classes and looking for a job.
Me and a lot of the people, they come here to only get a new life, and they will come work, and they will support the country and be a part from this country.
I have to go to Toronto.
Back at the shelter, that's Mohammed's hope too. He's planning to go to Toronto where he can live with friends. Just grateful for a chance to plead his case here.
So Canada is a human being country. That's what I heard, but I will see it, what is going to happen.
It all rides on his refugee board hearing. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Up next, when millennials travel, they take risks their parents never would.
This is Niagara Falls, and if you've noticed a little more foam at its base lately, perhaps it's mainly because of the beer. Beer that's being dumped by the caseload into the custom shed washroom upriver at Fort Erie.
They are bringing more beer than usual on account of the beer strike in Ontario.
One Hamilton man who shuffled off to Buffalo to pick up a couple of six-packs got his comeuppance, but at least he, unlike many others, was able to kiss his beer goodbye.
A Canadian beer drinking tradition is disappearing fast, and the first place they're feeling it is in the Maritimes. What's vanishing are those squat and stubby dark brown bottles.
The Canadian brewery industry has spent millions of dollars to make the change to long-neck bottles, and part of that cost is a result of scenes like this. There's no doubt that Cape Bretoners have done their part to support the brewery industry, and some wonder why the beer couldn't have found its way to a charitable cause. It's a beer drinker's lament. 700 cases of supposedly good brew down the drain, so to speak.
Brewers say the change was inevitable. Light beer has become popular, and American beer and twist-off caps.
I find when you're drinking out of it that it foams up more.
But most beer drinkers have adjusted.
Oh, as long as the beer's still there.
Specialty brewers are on the hop these days, rushing to cash in on more relaxed liquor laws.
Now that Canadian liquor laws are changing, new breweries are springing up all over. There's one in the back of this pub in Kingston, Ontario. But the idea of drinking the stuff that's made in the back room is catching on.
It's got a hell of a lot more body than Canadian beer, I'll tell you that.
It's very smooth, it's very easy to drink.
Okay, Ernie, if you could picture yeast there.
Bernie Knudsen has been coming to this so-called U-Brew store for about 3 years. It's easy and it's cheap. Making your own beer and wine in British Columbia is virtually tax-free. You can brew a dozen bottles here for about $10. Buying it at the liquor store would cost $15.
For the working men, yes, it's a working people, the working class people, it's a way better deal.
Most hours have 60 minutes. This hour has 7 days. Tonight, Ralph Nader charges the Detroit car companies with running risks that can't hurt them, but do hurt us.
I could give an example of the Buick Roadmaster in 1953. The one with power brakes came onto the market, many thousands of them, with a defective braking system. Now,
You mean in the 53 Buick Roadmaster,
with power
a driver
brakes.
would literally go from normal brakes to no brakes like that?
Right, that's right. This is documented in court records, which is very interesting. It shows you that the only way we find out about these things is through the cumbrous process of the judicial system. So what you want to do is make an overwhelming systematic case to overcome the resistance of industry. The stronger a case you make, the more scientists you have working on the project on an independent, objective basis, the more overpowering the forces of humane automotive technology will be.
Emergency in progress.
When you plan a vacation, what's high on your list of priorities? Sunshine, beautiful architecture, history? For a growing number of travelers, unexpected, unique, and affordable outweigh everything. But as Ron Charles tells us, for many, that can translate into downright dangerous.
This says Happy New Year.
It's actually got a gun.
Oh, there's guns in a lot of things.
Cynthia Cheng shows off some of the souvenirs from her most recent trips. A poster from North Korea and photos from the island of Socotra in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Yemen. That trip took her through the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, shortly after it had been captured by al-Houthi rebels in the country's vicious civil war.
In hindsight, we were actually very lucky at the time we decided to go because we had known that the rebels had seized both the city and the airport itself. And so there was a lot of hesitation whether or not we would continue through in our journey.
Her trip to North Korea might seem tame in comparison, but that reclusive country can also be a dangerous place for young Western travelers.
How I have made the worst mistake of my life.
Remember this young American sentenced to 15 years hard labor for taking down a poster.
North Korea has been a showstopper. A lot of people get really shocked when I tell them I've been to North Korea.
Both Yemen and North Korea have the rare distinction of being on the Canadian government's list of countries to which Canadians should avoid all travel. There are only 13 countries on that list, including Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The advisories warn of limited Canadian consular assistance should anything go wrong.
Basically just says welcome to Pyongyang.
But Cheng, in her mid-20s at the time, was not about to be deterred by a government website.
And you need to take that advisory with a grain of salt, and because it's there for people's safety, obviously. But if I were to restrict my travels to all of the 100% safe countries, I would be pretty limited.
Travelers Cheng's age have been turning their backpacks on those 100% safe countries and heading to more remote and sometimes more dangerous regions. People have been studying the phenomenon, including a researcher in recreation and leisure studies at the University of Waterloo. For her research, Nargis Abdihad questioned 185 Canadian backpackers about their motivations and concerns. Fear of terrorism ranked low.
Based on previous studies, we can argue that some experienced travelers prefer to ignore the influence of terrorism because of its large unpredictability.
We go to Antarctica. Bruce Poon Tip can also provide some insight. He is founder of G Adventures, a tour company with a few destinations on Canada's Avoid Non-Essential Travel list.
Younger travelers do look at those things differently too. Like the older generation would see any travel advisory, wouldn't even have to read it, and they would just consider if there's any travel advisory, we won't go.
For most of us, freedom is easy.
He says the lure of an exclusive and often cheap vacation far outweighs remote dangers, especially among young travelers.
This is your planet.
He uses the example of Egypt, a country with an extensive tourism infrastructure, but for now, few tourists.
The hotels are extremely aggressive in trying to get business again, and a lot of those services that were used to have to line up for. I mean, Egypt, when it's full and doing well, it's almost like an amusement park. So many people travel there all the time.
All your houses is made out of mud.
That's what Maggie Zhu found on her trip there in January. She and a few other friends in their 20s traveled through the Middle East and Africa. Undeterred by the government's warning to avoid all non-essential travel there, she says they did take precautions. Using a web tool that tracks ISIS attacks, they avoided certain areas.
Every day I was just checking just to make sure that, because for the shooting, a lot of them just go to a hotel and start shooting. So you can't avoid anything, right? If it does happen.
The research has found the young risk-taking travelers can be divided into two groups: those looking to brag on social media about their travel feats, and the larger group like Cheng and Zhu, young people willing to assess risks against a payoff of unique and very personal experiences they'll remember for a lifetime. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
Now stay tuned for strange sights in two hemispheres. Let's check the day's business numbers. The markets had a good day. The TSX added 141 points. The Canadian dollar rose almost a full cent. In New York, the Dow gained 112 points, and the price of oil was up $1.14 a barrel.
I'm Anna Maria Tremonti. Tomorrow on The Current, Jake Garrow was clearing an ice road in northern Ontario when his Bobcat broke through the ice and sank 100 feet to the bottom. His story of survival on The Current, weekday mornings at 8:30 on CBC Radio 1.
Here say they have never seen anything like it around the Lincoln Memorial, or for that matter, anywhere else here in the capital of the United States.
We lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time.
This park area on the Washington Mall, right underneath the Capitol Dome, has been the gathering place for many demonstrations, but none quite so strange as this collection of uniformed veterans, complete with medals and toy machine guns. The anti-war movement in this country is an ever-changing phenomenon. You never know quite what to expect next.
William H. Carroll from Atlanta, Georgia. 26 air medals and all the other stuff that goes with it.
Washington was the scene today of the largest anti-nuclear demonstration ever held in the U.S.
4, 6, 8, we don't want to radiate. 2, 4, 6, 8, we don't want to radiate.
If you're not building for the future, you're stealing from it.
They call the Supreme Court decision a tragic mistake. And on this, the 10th anniversary of legalized abortions, 26,000 marchers vowed to begin a second decade of protest.
Organizers are calling it the biggest pro-choice rally in history.
We will never give up. We will never give up. We will never give in. We will never give in.
From Capitol Hill to the Washington Monument, they formed an awesome mass of people. Not the 1.5 million the organizers claimed, but the largest ever gathering of Black Americans.
We're not here to tear down America. America is tearing itself down. We are here to rebuild the wasted cities.
This was exactly the image organizers wanted, a pageant of Americans before a national icon. Summoned by a political commentator and a champion of conservatives.
This day is a day that we can start the heart of America again.
Look around you, you're not alone. You are Americans.
The National.
The National.
Tonight.
An eerie bloom captured this week along the Tasmanian coast. That blue glow is caused by single-celled organisms. Beautiful, but keep in mind, they only emit that light when they're under threat. And more stunning waterworks, this time from Lake Erie, where high winds blew waves up and over an old lighthouse off Cleveland, Ohio. A natural ice sculpture left behind. And that's The National for this Wednesday night. For news at any hour, you can always go to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm Wendy Nestle. Thanks for watching.